Lena freezes over the cracked pavement, phone buzzing in her palm. The cafe door swings open. Mara's laugh follows, light and too bright. Lena scrolls through a photo, but it isn't hers. Mara's thumb hovers over a text thread titled Mint Secrets. The image is of Lena's journal, the torn page she swore only Mara knew. Mara steps toward her, eyes darting, as the screen flips to a second message, already sending. Lena lets Mara's laugh recede, steps back onto cracked pavement, and tucks her phone into her coat like a shield. She doesn't rush. The city hums around her, delivery bikes skidding past, a street vendor folding up awnings, and Lena's shoulders drop back into a rhythm of ordinary care. She tees up her notebook on the cafe counter earlier that morning, flipping to the page where she keeps the names of people who trust her. Every repetition of that ritual, wiping table crumbs with the same cloth, is a small way of honoring those promises. At noon, she walks home with a thermos of chamomile tea balanced against her hip. The train glass, a soft blur. She rehearses conversations in her head, not to manipulate, but to make room for voices that need a place to land. That evening, she sits on her fire escape, journal open, pen across blank lines. She writes about nothing in particular. Just the way Mara's laugh felt too bright today, as if she were trying to cover something up. These quiet motions, the deliberate attention to others' fissures, are the scaffolding of Lena's days. Steady, unassuming, until the thread in her hand starts to snap. Lena slides into the long communal table, guiding her half-full goblet of rosé onto the wood as her fingers hover a beat too long on the rim. She lowers her shoulders, then reaches for the paint-smudged gallery program, pressing her palm flat over it as if to brace the ritual. Through Lena Ortiz's eyes, the paint-smudged gallery program beside her holds a penciled margin note in Mara's handwriting. For Lena Ortiz, keep private. The ink sinking into the smeared paint as proof her name and privacy are already documented. Shannon leaned back, the half-full goblet skimming the tabletop as she swept the gallery program toward Lena, her fingers dragging the paint-smudged cover so the penciled margin note about panic trembled into view. Mara told me how Lena's therapy panic was dubbed the tide. The rush when the lights dimmed, a metallic breath made the air feel like storm water. That was between us, Shannon. Lena trusted us not to broadcast that. Lena Ortiz's fork hovers midair, her shoulders stiffening as her eyes widen in sudden, disbelieving stillness. Lena lifts the half-full goblet of rosé, fingers trembling around the stem as she presses it to her palm to steady the suddenly shaking wrist. Lena pivots sharply, rosé goblet clutched in her tightening fingers, shoulders bracing as her gaze locks on Mara bent over the table. Through Lena's eyes, Mara's sketchbook labeled Trust lies open. The charcoal note Trust hovering over the smudged outline of joined hands, the blur making the betrayal feel impossible to ignore. Lena's shoulders stiffen, eyes locking on the hovering word as a shallow breath betrays the sudden weight behind the question of whether her private life can stay protected. Lena Ortiz drops her bag, plants herself in front of the open laptop, and thrusts her phone toward Mara's line of sight. Through Lena Ortiz's eyes, Shannon's feed on the open laptop is plastered with comments tagging Mara as the Tide, the nickname that shoved their betrayal into public view. Lena Ortiz snatches Mara's phone, fingers digging into the cracked case as she drags a thumb over the thread, eyes flicking from message to message. Her other hand clutches the edge of the open laptop, knuckles whitening, then slides to the trackpad as if to steady herself while the thread keeps scrolling. Mara's phone, balanced on the coffee table in my line of sight, glows with the board member's message. Use Lena as the example. I'll fire you if she isn't the cautionary tale everyone remembers. How could you let them weaponize my panic attack? I didn't have a choice. The board said keep me or keep my job. So I spun it into a cautionary tale. Lena snaps her phone free from the coffee table edge, palms steady despite the tremor, and hunches over the glowing screen to frame both Mara's glowing phone and the laptop's open feed in the shot. I'm not letting them weaponize me without proof. I'm tracing every thread they used to paint me as the cautionary tale. The board has me under a microscope, Lena. They'll be monitoring your every move now, and if I step out of line, I'm done. Lena Ortiz's jaw tightens, shoulders squaring as she straightens, fists lowering slowly from tense, trembling hands. Her eyes narrow, fixed on the skyline beyond the window, breath evening out as she steels herself. Through Lena's eyes, the lamplight catches Mara's therapy journal, the latest entry scrawled in Mara's own hand. Tonight's dossier proves she sold Lena out. Mara snatched the laptop toward her, the glowing thread of Marcus's name slashing the air, and she slammed the therapy journal onto the keyboard, shoulders hunching as if she could pin the danger down. Lena's grip tightened on the edge of the table, fingers whitening as Marcus's name splashed across the screen, and her breath hitched, eyes widening with a cold, sinking realization. Lena lunged forward, seizing Mara's laptop and dragging it toward her so hard the table shuddered, the lid snapping open with a harsh scrape. She shoved the screen fully back, forcing Marcus's name to burn across the glow as her fingers clenched white along the edge. Therapy journal splayed open beside Mara's laptop. Tide attack entry circled in red ink, the margin noting Dr. Ibarra's initials and fresh, raw material, underlined as the email cursor blinks above the same words on the screen. Lena, why is Marcus naming Dr. Ibarra and my Tide panic in this email? Mara, he has the journal, Lena. He said unless I send him more, he'll leak every page. Mara's hand closes on Lena Ortiz's wrist, a tremor running through her fingers as she yanks the therapy journal toward her, her thumb skimming the red circled paragraph while her other hand drags a finger under the lines Marcus wrote. Lena Ortiz's jaw tightens, shoulders squaring as fury replaces limpness, breath held in sharp, measured pulls. So I'm collateral? If I don't keep telling you more, he drowns me in that journal? He told me exactly that. He said there is no mercy unless I keep feeding him your truths. Lena Ortiz shuts the door with a thud, spins back and drops the folder with the therapy journal page onto the table, hands splayed to steady herself as the paper shudders. Is Marcus bluffing this time? Or has he actually booked Friday's spectacle and wants my journal to shut it down? He isn't bluffing. The drop's set for Friday, and he won't keep quiet unless you hand over the therapy pages. Lena Ortiz's jaw clenches, knuckles whitening on the table edge as her shoulders stiffen, eyes narrowing with a silent calculation. Through Mara's eyes, Lena's therapy journal page glares up at her from the table. The underlined sentence, I still trust Mara. A silent witness to what Mara might lose if she turns Lena into a cautionary tale. Lena, there has to be a lawyer. Protective order, restraining, something official before he even shows up. Mara, you think I can walk into the board and say no after he drags my name through the mud? They'll fire me before Marcus opens his mouth and still let him paint you as the villain. Lena, so all I get is silence while he keeps threatening me? Mara, all I can give you is that I won't be the one to expose you. But the second I refuse him, the board is ready to toss me out next week. Lena's fingers trembled as they curled into her palm, her shoulders sagging as if the weight of the decision pressed her down. A sharp intake of breath rattled through her, eyes darting to the door as if hoping to hold both paths open. Mara slid Lena's therapy journal page across the table, the corner catching the light as she nudged it closer. She tapped the page with her knuckle, then pivoted her gaze toward the cracked phone screen. fingers splayed over Marcus's message as if bracing against another blow. If I just keep quiet, maybe it dies with me. He already told me the next show needs your confession, and he'll keep cranking it up until someone stops him. Lena Ortiz's knuckles whiten as she leans into the table, jaw clenched and breath shallow. Lena Ortiz rises, both palms wrapping the conference room's untouched coffee cup as she leans into the table. She drags the cup forward, fingers tightening while her shoulders straighten. I'm going to the attorney. Even if it forces Marcus into that hearing and pulls you in, I can't keep feeding him. I understand. But you're dragging me toward a firing if they find out I couldn't stop you. The room swallowed her words. Lena Ortiz feeling the silence press with Mara's unblinking stare, cutting the air down to nothing. Through Lena's view, the glass of water on the small pedestal splits the Tide canvas's spotlight into steady shards. Each refraction a promise finely named and a pulse of deliberate healing steadying the panic's light. Lena's jaw clenches, eyes narrowing as she tracks the fractured light, shoulders pressing down into a slow, deliberate inhale. I'm ready to name every promise you broke, every manipulation Marcus spun. These walls are going to hear the truth and the way I'm reclaiming my worth. Then say it, Lena. Say it loud enough that they can't forget the consent we owe each other, and make them feel how deliberate healing starts with honest bones. Lena crosses to the pedestal, palm flattening on the projector playback device before she presses down. As Marcus's voice erupts, she straightens, shoulders unbunching into a steady, open stance. Lena Ortiz sees the mounted canvas of the tidepiece, with the tide pulled back just enough to expose the faint gouge of her own name etched into the sand beneath. A quiet testament that the promises she vowed to keep now lie exposed and ready to be rebuilt. Lena's jaw clenched, shoulders leveling as if bracing against a gale. The tension in her hands easing into a deliberate stillness, while her eyes, wide with hurt, shifted toward a steadier, fiercer light. Mara steps forward, the glass of water trembling in her grip as the tidepiece catches the light behind her. Did you let Marcus weaponize the tide story? Yes, and I'm done hiding. Help me rebuild in the open with you, no more secrecy. Lena Ortiz lets out a slow breath, lips pressed thin as she lifts her chin, fingers curling into her palms as if anchoring herself. Her gaze flickers toward Mara before settling forward, resolute shoulders squaring as the betrayal's sting hardens into determined steadiness. Lena drags her fingertips along the lower edge of the mounted canvas of the tidepiece, then lifts her chin and sweeps both arms outward, palms open, drawing the patrons into the circle. Will you help me start a circle where every confession begins by asking permission? Yes. No more secrets, only shared care and consent. Through Lena's eyes, the mounted canvas of the tidepiece captures the shimmer of last year's promises, each white scar of paint echoing the hurt she now names. Maya sets her coffee down on the low cafe table, the journal closed beneath a smooth stone she picked up on yesterday's shoreline walk. She does not slide the journal toward anyone. No eyes are on that page anymore. Instead, she reaches for the communal sketchbook the cafe keeps for anyone who wants to leave a mark. She draws 3 uneven lines, each one a promise she keeps to herself. Visibility, patience, forgiveness. Then slides the sketchbook to the stranger beside her, a musician she met 2 evenings ago who hums without expecting anything in return. Outside, the late sun pours through the big windows, and Maya feels the heat on her forearms. It's not a betrayal that defines this light. It's hers.